Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we got Tyler. We got Jim. I'm in the middle. What's up, guys?
How we doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. How about you?
It's good to be back. I feel like the three of us haven't been on in a while.
When was our last NS9 Live? I'm going to look into that.
Nobody knows.
No, nobody knows.
It's been great.
No, it's good to be back, and there's a lot to talk about today. We got the trade deadline coming up, and the Pirates made a move today. So, yeah, plenty of stuff going on.
Our last NS9 Live was the Smash or Pass episode, which Pirate players need to play.
But I think that was just me and you.
2 months ago. No, it was a 3
That was. Oh, was it?
Yep. We were debating players like Jack Swinski, Rodolfo Castro, G1 Bay, Marcano, Ortiz. Yeah. 2 months ago.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Technical difficulties over here.
Tyler's just a mute.
Well, we got issues. Like, nothing's working for me. I had to rush in the house, the whole thing. We're good. Hi, friends. How are we tonight?
I said I'm fantastic. How are you, Tyler?
Flustered. I'm a scatterbrain anymore, so here we are. Love you guys. Mainly Jim.
Just an awful show. This is just awful.
Oh,
I mean, you're the host. You gotta get us on track.
Yeah.
God,
I'm out here
all the
trying to
work
fix the
once
equipment you
again.
told me to buy.
All right, let's go. So the Pirates made a move today. No, we're going to talk, as you see the headline, it's the MLB trade preview. We were going to preview this upcoming deadline, and the Pirates got a head start on us. So they've already made a trade. So obviously today, I think what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the Pirates trade that happened. We're going to riff a little bit and maybe just talk about some other guys that potentially could be traded, maybe what we expect from the deadline. And then I think we'll talk about some of the young guys that are on the team already. Tyler is a liability. I absolutely agree. I'm not even sure you can get international bonus money for him. I didn't even do it that time. But at any rate, he's back. Damn it.
I did it.
At any rate, he's like Kelly Johnson from the Braves. He just keeps getting traded and coming back. So let's talk about that. So today the Pirates made a trade, as mentioned. Carlos Santana, first baseman, gets dealt to in division. I'm not going to say rivals because that would mean that two teams are good. But in division team, the Milwaukee Brewers, for an 18-year-old prospect. And is it Johnny? Is that what we're going with?
I'm going to go ahead and say that it's probably Yanni.
Yanni?
Just based on the little bit of Spanish that I know and how the language works.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Yanni.
The only reason I said Johnny
Peralta?
is like, that's what I was going with.
Who? What'd you say?
Johnny Peralta
Yeah.
or Joni, whatever we decided. Whatever someone wanted to add a little flair to it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's spelled the same way as Johnny Peralta. So maybe it is
Right.
Johnny. Yeah.
It's off the top of the dome, by the
It's
way.
our Will Ferrell moment. It's either a soft J, hard J. I'm not sure. I'll go Yanni.
Yeah.
It probably is Yanni. You know, it probably was Yanni Peralta, and everyone just said Johnny. He was like, I'm tired of correcting all these St.
That
Louis
might be
Cardinal
fair.
fans.
Yeah.
I'll just stick with Johnny. At any rate, yeah. So Yanni or Johnny Severino. I want to say a lot of controversy. I mean, it's Pirates Twitter. They're Pirates fans. You get every viewpoint here. But losing Carlos Santana, I felt was definitely going to get a lot of viewpoints on it. So let's just start just in general. What are your thoughts on the trade?
I think the trade is just fine for who Carlos Santana is. He's a 2-month rental. He's a first baseman who is a league average hitter. That makes him a below average major league first baseman. So yeah, the fact that you got someone who seems like he's got a little bit of upside. Now he's probably 4+ years away from the majors, but just getting somebody semi-interesting like Severino. I mean, the trade is fine.
So I guess my opinion is I think that there's a couple layers here. The Pirates fans in general, we are fatigued with being sellers at the deadline every single year. So every time one of these guys goes, we're going to be a little bit up in arms. Right. In a vacuum, I think this trade is fine. Jim mentioned it. Carlos Santana really hasn't been that good this year. I think more than anything, they'll miss his defense. But the bat, I think that can be filled pretty easily. It's just a little bit of Pirate trade deadline fatigue, I think, because if you're a guy like me, you've spent your entire life with the Pirates as a seller. It just gets a little old after a while, and I think that's kind of where everybody is right now. The return, it's fine. Like, the only part that annoys me a little bit is that I think people, like the positive realm of Pirates fans, gets locked into, oh, Neil Cruz came from Tony Watson, so we get in this little thing of keep just going this high upside type of deal. Oh, Neil Cruz was 1 in a million. It doesn't work like this all the time. We've seen it in Ben Cherington's career. He's acquired every single middle infielder known to man. It hasn't worked. O'Neal Cruz was special, and it just happened to work out. This guy probably won't work out, but at the same time, it's fine. Like, you just live with it. The upside seems to be there based upon everything I've read on him, because obviously I haven't really dug into him that much in my life.
Fair. I think all things you said are fair. The side where, as Pirates fans, you're tired of seeing this at deadline. I absolutely get the frustration. For those who are upset at people being frustrated, calm the F down. Like, they have every right to be upset. Like Jim points out as how many times and how often most Pirate fans, especially on Twitter, have seen 3 winning seasons. 4, I guess. 3 playoff years, right? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So any team that's upset about the organization of, here we go again, the trade deadline, and here's Carlos Santana being traded off, I get the frustration. But I guess where I'm at is, I'm on the viewpoint. We all know, every one of us here is on the viewpoint. Like, this team is a disaster. It's a huge disappointment of where we feel it should be in year 4 of the rebuild, right? That is true. But at the same sense, because you've already made one wrong doesn't mean you have to make another wrong. And what I mean in that is, I don't hate this trade one bit. With the Carlos Santana being traded off, G-Man Choi comes back. He's healthy now. You have Connor Joe. Like, I'll at least say at this point, Choi could be traded, right? But as of today, you have those players, and they're competent enough that I don't look at this huge drop off of first base. It's not like you're having Josh Van Meter play first, Michael Chavis like you had last year. Like, there's still some competency there per se. So, like, this trade, I'm okay with. But also in the same sense, what I was relieved in seeing was this type of trade being made. What I mean by that is I was expecting the AA catcher or reliever that it seemed like the Pirates have gotten every one of these type of deals, right? With no upside, just this garbage player who's going to fill a roster spot, hopefully, potentially. Like, where's the ABM Gutierrez, right? Where's Carter Binns? Like, I'm expecting like that type of a deal. So at least he went for some lottery ticket. That's what I was more afraid of, is going that other route. So it's like, at least there's some opportunity there's some potential here. I'm not going to go down the O'Neal Cruz route and say it's O'Neal Cruz. That's a possibility. But like, this is what that presents. You're not getting any. Like, Carter Binns is never going to amount to anything. He could be a major league player, an intriguing player. And I have some more to say, but I'll let Jim interject here. He looks like he wants to say something.
Yeah, like I said, the trade itself is fine. The problem here and what's frustrating is that a trade like this is even happening in year 4 of a rebuild that, quite frankly, didn't even have to happen. Like, this was a decision made by this front office to be terrible for 4 straight years. And now we're in year 4 and we're still doing stupid stuff like this, like trading our veterans, rental players for lottery tickets that may or may not make this team better in 2030. Like, that's where we're at right now. And that's what's frustrating. The deal itself is fine. It's what the deal represents. And obviously we all knew that this is where this team was, but that's the frustrating part, right? Like, the frustrating part is we're sick and tired of being in this position where it's just a foregone conclusion that whatever guys we have who are free agents at the end of the season are just going to be traded at the deadline, because why the hell would we need them the last 2 months of the year? Because we suck. That's what's frustrating about this. 4 years into this, they didn't have to do this rebuild. They chose to do it. They chose to put us through 4 years of misery. And this is just part of the misery.
Right.
Jim, they literally chose it. They said their projections were to be a very bad team this year. They chose this.
Yeah, this is what they strived for.
Yep.
They decided to be this bad. And this is what we're up to. This is now where we are.
And I don't want to make it seem like Carlos Santana is the reason that this team was 28-8 in April. Like, this team's not a good team, and that's Carlos Santana has nothing to do with that. This organization decided they were going to be bad this year, and we're just in the same boat that we were for the last 3 years. And there is nothing on this planet that can convince me that 2024 will be any different.
They've decided to be bad 4 straight years. They have been bad on purpose now for 4 straight years.
No, can I interject a little bit on that? That's what makes this season more frustrating. They chose for 3 years to be bad. They did make a decision to be better this year. And with making a decision to be better this year, they're basically just as bad as they were last year. That's what makes this season even more frustrating. Like, you don't invest $40 million in an offseason to choose to be as bad as you were last year. So there was a level of investment. There's absolutely no progression. There's more or less regression with the players that were already here. That's why this season's so frustrating. Yeah, Jim, they didn't choose to go above and beyond to be good. They chose at least to be competent, and they're not even that.
I mean, we can spiral this into a whole other thing. Like, they were good to start the year and then decided to not do anything about it, and they just let this thing fall apart, right? So, I mean, we could go down that entire route. But trade deadline's coming up. Let's kind of talk about that. This is obviously the first domino to fall. Carlos Santana was obviously a pretty clear-cut favorite to be traded on this team. It's a position that the Pirates, quite frankly, they've got another very competent player to play it, right? They've got Carlos Santana is a veteran who has been in the postseason. He's played in stretch runs before. He's a player that contending teams would like to have on their roster. So everything kind of pointed to a Santana trade here. But this was the first one. The Brewers decided to pull the trigger a little bit early. They made a decent offer. I mean, I again, the trade itself, the Pirates, I feel like, got a pretty good return for 2 months of a first baseman who can't really hit like a first baseman, if we're being honest. So, like, the trade itself, Cherington did just a fine job with it. I don't know if you were going to get anything better for him. You probably could have gotten something different if you wanted to go like a different route, right? Like you mentioned how he operated previous seasons, right? Vogelbach for Holderman. Could he have gotten another deal similar to that? Probably. So, yeah, do you go for maybe the major league ready 26-year-old reliever, or do you go for an 18-year-old kid who signed for over $1 million last year, who's got some upside, hasn't really put it together yet, but he's 18 and you never really know what's going to happen with him. So he decided to go that route, which, I mean, quite frankly, if we're going to choose between the two, I'd rather him go that route. So I'm not going to criticize the trade itself. I think he did an okay job. But yeah, it just sucks as a Pirates fan just to be in this situation again where, all those players that you have that are somewhat every player on your team that's, not terrible, we're just going to hear trade rumors about them for the next 4 days.
Yeah, I think I'll be much more frustrated if Choi gets traded as well. Because at that point, then you're leaving first base as a black hole. At the very least, I just ask that you somewhat try to put a competitive roster on the field every day. And to be fair, G-Man Choi to this point, since returning, has looked, I think, probably better than Carlos Santana at the plate. I know the numbers might not suggest it, but just looks alone, I think he's looked pretty good.
I actually have the numbers up. Since you're talking about, just to bring it up here, I mean, he has a 140 weighted run created plus since returning.
Okay. So
250 average, 286 on base, but 656 slugging. 4
and the
home
other thing,
runs, 35 plate appearances.
Yeah, and the other thing that gets Andrew McCutchen in the lineup more. You should be able to get Henry Davis some more DH appearances. There are some positives out of dealing from a surplus, like Jim mentioned. It's just what it signifies, I think, that it's just getting a little old.
Again, no argument there. Not one iota, but the team is where it's at. And you just have to come to terms with it. This team is awful. And as much as you want them to not trade, the realistic move is they need more talent. They need more players. And I guess that's what gets me to the next spot too, because I feel so many people get in this mindset. And I think I've talked more about this thought process this year than any other year. But so many people get in this mindset of, well, great, there's this 18-year-old. We won't see him for 6 more years anyways. What are you doing here? This is stupid. And stop thinking about prospects as players. I understand they're needed more as players in small markets like the Pirates, right? That's what you'd get them for. But just start thinking of as capital. What the Pirates got is 6 years away, likely. So what they got is trade capital. If this kid can develop, there's a reason that he was signed for $1.2 million. That's the other aspect too. I know it's a little bit different because it's last year he signed, you got a taste of him, but think about if you're able to trade Carlos Santana for $1.2 million international dollars. That's unheard of, right? That's kind of ridiculous. And that's kind of what this is, except it was signed last year, right? You got a player that was signed for $1.2 million who has a lot of talent. He definitely has his struggles and concerns, right? The strikeout rate's a little bit concerning and such, but you got a decent young prospect. And if he can develop to some level in 2 years, what does he present when you might be looking to, don't laugh at me, contend, right? Are you able to use him in the offseason or the trade deadline to get a number 3 starter that you might need, or the big corner outfielder that you might need because you don't have it? Stop looking at him so much of this as a player in 2026 or 2027 and start looking at him as a trade chip that can help you out when you are winning.
Yeah, I think that's stupid.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
He's not $1.2 million of international money right now.
But what I'm saying is
he's like 300,000 because he's been terrible for 2 years.
No.
Jim.
I mean, he hasn't been good, but he's also been really young, and I'm not really going to. I'm not going to pretend to know enough about this guy to say if he's good or not.
I know he's not $1.2 million of international money worth.
No, I mean, that's fair. And that's why I said, it's different because it's not it's this year's worth, but that's the player he presents. That's the talent he had. That's not what a middle reliever in Double-A who's 26 years old is. Yeah, so there's talent there.
Yeah. Travis Swigert.
That's why he was signed for $1.2 million because there was talent. Now, if they can develop that and maybe start creating him to some resemblance of a player, what's his prospect status go up to?
Yeah, and I am curious to kind of see what, and I haven't seen it. I haven't really dug too deep on it, but Severino hasn't played a game since June 27th.
Wrist.
So I'm not. It's wrist.
Yeah.
Okay,
wrist
so they They traded for an injured.
Hey,
No,
Jim, that's $1.2 million of international money, Jim.
All right, so let me backtrack a little bit. This is a bad trade. I'd rather have Colin
Come on
Holderman.
now.
I'd rather have Colin Holderman. No, like, but for real, like, I mean, if the wrist injury isn't that bad, which I'm sure they've gotten medicals, I would imagine the Pirates aren't so incompetent that they at least
Tom Zick was like,
medicals.
we're good, buddy.
But
Jim, they tried to draft a kid that was suspended in the Rule 5 draft.
you know what? That's true. This is an incredibly incompetent team. They drafted a suspended person, not knowing it, and then just passed on the rest of the rounds because it flustered them so much. So honestly, yeah, who knows? Maybe they didn't know this guy's wrist is hurt. Maybe they were just like, you know what? He's a young guy and he can play shortstop, but he likely won't stick to the position. So, you know, that checks all the boxes.
That's all they needed to know.
Ooh, international money. He signed for that much? Check mark, baby.
And he's a shortstop that had 20 errors in 47 games.
Nailed it.
Get him over. Get him. That's my guy.
I'll be
Carrington
dead by
boys,
the time he
stand up.
debuts anyhow, so who cares?
I'll say this. Ethan asks, are we grading Yordany De Los Santos higher than him because he's someone we know or because he's been pretty highly touted because they signed for fairly similar money? I would grade De Los Santos higher than him based off of just on-field production and, exit velocities. De Los Santos hits the ball incredibly hard for someone his age. I think Yordany De Los Santos is just, he is the much better prospect. He's farther along. He's produced at the levels. You look at just like on base percentage, it's 100 points higher than this guy's was in the complex league. Like De Los Santos is the better prospect.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we do know him,
Absolutely.
but that's not why I'm saying that.
But I guess where I'm going to go with Ethan's point is they both have talent, and that's why they're signed for familiar things. So if the Pirates are able to bring the talent and equate it to production, then maybe you're cooking a little bit. And again, it's not because you want him in 2027. It's because in 2024, 2025, maybe you're missing some piece to get you to the championship, right? To get you further. And you're using him as a trade chip. They can get you back better than a Carlos Santana for 2 months.
So that would make sense if I had any reason to believe this team's going to be competitive in 2024 or 2025.
Or
get
2026
that.
or 2027.
Well,
they've been competitive a whole 3 years since I was 5 years old.
In my lifetime.
I
think I might be the curse, to be honest with you. I was born in 93.
Yeah.
If they're not competitive by 2025, they will be competitive in 2027 by the new GM.
No, because the new GM is just going to come down here and do another rebuild. Yeah.
They'll have enough talent in the new GM
to trade away. They'll have enough
going to
talent.
shit all over Ben Cherington and show you how I'm going to do it in 2 years.
They'll have enough talent to trade away to springboard the next rebuild. And then we'll be talking about the exact same thing in 2030 when we trade Brian Reynolds.
I think they're waiting till 2030.
Yeah, that's pretty optimistic of you, Jim.
Yeah, that's true.
Here we are.
At any rate.
At any rate, it's a fine trade. It sucks. I mean, it sucks that we're in the position that we're having to trade away our veterans at the deadline again. Yet another year where we're doing the same old thing.
Like I said, I was born in 93. I have seen 4 years in my lifetime where the Pirates have been what I would consider buyers at the deadline. And 14, they were not buyers. And I will give them maybe 2012 and 2018. That's been my lifetime. My lifetime has been the Pirates are trading anything worth a shit.
There you go. So, are we wrapping up the actual trade that happened, or we want to move forward to speculating?
Sure, let's do it.
I guess.
Who's next?
Who's next?
Yeah.
Rich Hill. Gotta imagine he's next. He's an extremely competent starting pitcher, and most teams would be happy to have him in the rotation. So I gotta imagine he's next to go. I'm not gonna say he's gonna be like the first pitcher to go, or the second, or third, or fourth, or maybe like the fifth. He'll be like team's fourth or fifth choice. So someone will bite.
I didn't know where you were going with that. Okay, that makes sense. When you're like, he's not be the first pitcher, second. I was like, wait, how many pitchers are the Pirates trading? Because they only have like 7 of them.
Yeah, I'm talking about available pitchers at the deadline. I mean, he is attractive in a couple ways. Like he's a rental. He's not that expensive. So you only got to pay him what, $3 million or so for 2 months. He's been just fine this year. He's eating innings. He hasn't been great, but he hasn't been terrible. He's the kind of arm that a rotation would upgrade to. If they were missing, maybe they had a key injury in the rotation and they just need some fourth or fifth starter to get them to the postseason. Rich Hill is more than capable of doing that with a contending team.
So I guess my question would be, are the Pirates better off dealing him than they are keeping him? Because we're in a very tough spot where they don't have anybody left to eat some innings. And I understand Rich Hill is 43 years old. You probably do want to do right by him. And if he wants to go play for a contender, you go ahead and make that move. But as an organization, there's nothing to eat these innings right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible you could get something similar, maybe not the quality-wise, but, the Pirates traded Quintana last year and got Oviedo, right? And were immediately able to plug him into the rotation pretty much. They were able to get innings. I know they do need innings. They do need someone to actually pitch games down these last two months. And they've got the arms in the system to do it. It's just a matter of how quality do they want those innings to be, right? Because right now you're probably not filling in Rich Hill's spot with someone that you necessarily trust, but maybe you're filling in his spot with someone who you just throw them into the fire and see what they got. Because there are some of those guys, like Luis Ortiz hasn't been good since being sent back to Indianapolis, but he is technically there. Who knows what Contreras is doing down in Bradenton or wherever he's at? Like, he's just fallen off the face of the planet, hasn't appeared in a game in a month. So they have the arms. It's just reliable arms, not necessarily.
So like my whole stance on this is like what Tyler's saying. You absolutely understand that viewpoint. The argument, and I said this on the post game, I think a few times, but like the argument was, do you trade Quintana? Because if you do so, where are you getting the innings? This year, I think it's even worse position than it was last year with that scenario. But also, Rich Hill is not what Quintana was. Like, you could actually fetch a prospect package for Quintana, which you can argue if they did or not, right? But regardless, there's a guy who's in the starting rotation this year and a guy who's in AAA right now from that. Rich Hill's not going to get you an Oviedo or Malcolm Nunez, regardless, even if you have a Stratton to throw in to do so, right? Like, that's just not going to happen. So it's like, is the risk reward, like, for not much of a return, are you willing and wanting to go ahead and give up Rich Hill to lose innings? I guess my argument in that as well is, you're already punting on this season as it is. You're already one of the worst teams as it is. Who cares? Like, if it ends up being Aldridge, if it ends up being Caleb Smith, it's awful. But trust me, I don't want it. But you've put yourself in this position as it is. It's already awful baseball. Find somebody to finish it. Find someone on the waiver wire. Find a salary maybe you can eat in the trade. Like, are you maybe working a deal that you're going to take on a bad pitcher like Cleveland with? And that's another point of this. Like, can Rich Hill be traded? Well, Syndergaard went to Cleveland. Like, the Dodgers traded Syndergaard. Rich Hill has trade value. So, like, Pirates, like, Ben Cherington needs to figure it out. You know, that's where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
The other thing I say to Tyler's point Are you comfortable Rich Hill's going to find innings? Like, he's still healthy, right? There's a very good possibility Rich Hill goes down in 3 weeks, and you're still stuck with finding innings.
Is Rich Hill just hanging on until he can get traded?
Maybe.
No, I do
expecting at some point for him to go on the IL, and he never has yet.
Yeah, and I think you do bring up a good point, though, of just his health in general. He's really not eating that many innings in general. I would be more comfortable trading Rich Hill than I would have been Carlos Santana, but that's just because Rich Hill has really just not been that good. He's just been a guy. And the problem is that we're dealing with a rotation that doesn't have guys. They just have a bunch of fellas that run out there and try to throw 3 innings a night.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Osvaldo Bido going out there every 5 days. You got Quinn Priester, who, again, you don't really know what you've got there yet. But Priester is going to get starts these next 2 months. Like, Quinn Priester's in the rotation. Unless he absolutely blows up and he is incapable of being even allowed to pitch, Quinn Priester's in the rotation the rest of the year.
He's still in the rotation, Jim. He's gonna get the Mitch Keller effect. You're just gonna pitch it out, baby. We can't afford to send you down.
But just to add, real quick, I'm sorry, Donardo, but
you're good.
We did hear a lot about the veteran effect with like a Carlos Santana and a Rich Hill. This team's like 12 games under 500. With or without him, this team sucks. So they got to do what they have to do, but at the same time, I'd like to be able to do a post-game show without wanting to blow my brains out.
Right. Yeah, I guess. So the thing I was going to say too, so back to like Jim's point about a team wanting him, right? And like the value there. The Braves, I'm not saying they are in on him, but like a team like the Braves make a lot of sense. They're running away the division, right? They just need to get to the postseason. Rich Hill's not going to be on a postseason roster for the most part. What Rich Hill does is, so there's only 4 pitchers the Braves have that have made more than 5 starts on the year, right? 3 that have made more than 9. Like Rich Hill could fill in that gap, give them like some innings, right? Take away and relax that bullpen some. The Braves could use a guy like Rich Hill. Just get me to the postseason. We're good. And then bye-bye, we got our horses. So yeah, like I can definitely see Rich Hill a trade there. Now what we get in return, again, I just don't know. And that's where the argument comes in. Do you trade him or just hold on to him? I am though on the side of just trade him. Figure it out. Trade him.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards, at this point, trade him too. Like last year, I was definitely on the like hold Quintana train because one, that team was just absolutely miserable to watch, and you needed someone to just like be competent out there, and he was very competent, right? This team, on the other hand, they're not good, but there are at least some interesting pieces to it where like they kind of make you want to at least watch the games. Like I want to watch Henry Davis. I want to watch Andy Rodriguez. O'Neal Cruz is hopefully going to be back next month. I'll want to watch him. I want to watch Peguero. I want to watch, Gonzalez. I want to watch Priester. So like there's at least some interesting pieces on this team that aren't like, okay, as soon as they trade these guys away, like Tyler mentioned, like I'm going to just like want to Tyler put it in a very eloquent way.
You can paraphrase,
but like I this team is more interesting. Are they better? Not really, but they are more interesting than last year's team was because you're not seeing Josh Van Meter getting trotted out there every day.
Yeah, and it's not even
Roansy.
Right.
Who did you have last year?
Right, and then the arms that they do have that they would plug in are even interesting. Like, again, are they good? I don't know, but at least they would be interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's the big thing with Ben Sherrington has to do is you can't trade Rich Hill and then have Tyler Beatty look alike out there. You got to have something a hair better than that. Does Jared Jones do it? Probably, but I don't know if he's quite there yet. This organization will never do that, but that's the arm that I think we all want to see. It's not going to happen.
One thing we haven't really discussed, and again, it's an unknown, but we also don't know the status of Roansy Contreras.
Right.
Like, when does he come back? Like, he could fill in at some point, hopefully sooner than later, and hopefully that means he's back and right. But there's the Roansy Contreras question mark in effect.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you've got Contreras, you've got Ortiz. I actually wouldn't mind maybe even seeing Jared Jones start like a couple games, later in the year. Just like let him do it. So I think the arms are there. And again, like, how much can you even really ask Rich Hill to do at this point? Rich Hill's at 114 innings pitched. He's only done that 4 times in the last 7 years. So, like, he's already kind of pushing his limits when it comes to innings anyways. So, like, you got what you got out of him. Now see if there's anything of value you can get in return. I think he's the most likely guy to get dealt.
I just can't do like 3 months of Ryan Barucki and bullpen games.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go that route.
Don't think yet. Watch out.
I don't think you
Rich
can
Hill,
possibly even do that.
You
I
could
do.
possibly do it.
They will.
Do we need to go back like the last 3 years worth of our shows to just all the things we said that they would never do and they did? Regardless, unanimously, I think we're on board Rich Hill. Who else do we think the Pirates are trading this year? Really? Jim did say it's going to be quiet at the deadline.
I think they want to trade Austin Hedges, but I don't know if they're going to be able to. Maybe they'll get somebody just kind of take him on for like cash considerations or something, but I don't think you're getting anything for Austin Hedges. But I think that's a possibility. I think Colin Holderman's a possibility.
So where are we at on Holderman? Because I don't know that I really heard his name come up until essentially today. I think it was John Heyman that tweeted his name. Yeah. And I don't really think anybody considered Colin Holderman being dealt.
No, probably because he's been here for
it's only been here a year,
12 months and a week.
Again, like the Pirates have team control of him for a really long time, but then you also look at it and you say, okay, well, he's, they've got 6 years of control, but he's also 27. It's going to be 28 next year. He's been fine, not great in the majors. Like he is your definition of your dime a dozen right-handed relief pitchers in Major League Baseball right now. Every team has 3 Colin Holdermans.
Not every
result-wise or stuff-wise.
29 do.
Yeah. Most teams have 3 Colin Holdermans.
Right.
Are we talking results or stuff?
Both. Everybody has 3 right-handed relievers who throw 100 miles an hour with movement. Like, that's just what
29 teams do.
That's what people do. Yeah, you're right. 29 teams. So I could see Holderman go if the package is right. Like if the team's really looking to bolster their bullpen. I don't think you're getting much in return for him though. So I don't know if you necessarily pull the trigger on it. The one jewel that they have is David Bednar. Like they could get a top prospect for David Bednar. And so then it's just a matter of All right. Are we just banking on us being able to fill that role with someone pretty competent? Or do you throw all your chips in the Bednar basket? Because if you're not going to trade him now, like you're probably just going to keep him. Like his value is never going to be higher. Like he's a lights out closer right now that every single team would love to have currently. And they would pay for it.
I mean, I just stick with it. You're absolutely correct. Bednar is the chip. Bednar gets you the biggest return. And to me, all a Bednar trade shows is this team is not ready for 2024 and they know it. If you seriously feel you're ready to contend for 2024, and again, by contending, I'm not, because again, Pirates fans going to twist this, right? I'm not here saying, okay, championship time, right? But like you're ready to do something. You're hopefully like playoffs are in your sets. This is the year we're going to push some chips in and move forward and buy at the deadline. You don't trade David Bednar, especially with the way this bullpen is right now. You know, like there was some back and forth like a couple nights ago about this whole ordeal, you know, like with the Orioles and such. Like the Orioles are able to do that at the time they did because they had a freaking Felix Bautista waiting in the wings. And he's like one of the best relievers in baseball right now. They had a good bullpen then, and their bullpen's even better. Like you can deal from the strength. The Pirates don't have a bullpen today. You look at next year and they still don't have a bullpen. You can't deal David Bednar with intentions of competing next year because you can't just replace David Bednar. You still need, like if you keep calling Horderman, that's your best reliever. And then who's left? Like this bullpen, it's totally incomplete and incompetent. So you can't deal Bednar and go forward next year trying to compete. But if you do, it tells me that Ben Cherington looks at this team and says, it's also not 2024. And what we have isn't enough, which is why we need that top prospect that Jim alluded to.
Let's play hypothetical situation here.
Yes.
There are some teams out there who I think are really going to look to capitalize on where they're currently at in the standings. Like the Cincinnati Reds. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds want David Bednar. And they're willing to offer you like Christian Encarnacion Strand, who you can just plug right into first base, be your first baseman of the future. And then they want to also throw in Noel V. Marte. What do you do?
Wait, Marte is a middle infielder who can play middle infield.
Yes.
Ben Cherington says no.
So let's.
Deal's already nixed.
But like
Sorry.
what, like that's it. I feel like that's something that like the Reds, they have Votto, right? So like they can deal Encarnacion Strand. They don't like Noel V. Marte is blocked by a lot of dudes. So like,
you know what? Can we make it a little more other interesting?
Yeah, sure.
Because there's a guy on their team who's pitching on the block. What about India? What if India's the guy?
No.
I don't. So you're saying Jonathan India for David Bednar? Straight up?
Saying no.
I'm saying no.
We'll do both of it.
I would need something
We'll
else.
let you go first.
I would need something else.
Yeah, I need a little bit more.
I would need
Okay.
something else.
Years of control are just a little bit too important there.
But if you're going to do India and Encarnacion Strand,
You doing it?
I'm probably doing it.
I'm probably, and I've said before, like, I'm okay dealing Bednar, but it has to be something that blows your mind.
Yeah, it has to blow you away.
Yeah, it almost has, like the rumors of Felipe Vasquez. Unfortunately, we got to mention him, but the rumors of him going to the Dodgers, it has to be that type of deal, or else I'm not moving him. And I might think differently if Neil Huntington is the GM, because Neil Huntington could build a bullpen like no other. Ben Cherington, at this point in 4 years, has not shown he can do that. He's done a very, very poor job of doing so. And there's not a single guy in this organization that really looks like they are going to be a David Bednar type of pitcher.
Also very fair. Yeah, that's tough. And of course he had to go to Cincinnati. Like, first off, all the Pirate fans seeing David Bednar pitch for Cincinnati, awful, right? But at the same token, David Bednar having a pitch for Cincinnati, like that's got to kill him. What did he do to you, Ben Cherington?
Yeah,
but
I
that's
mean,
like what you present. I think like that hypothetical.
Yeah,
that's a nice package. You got to think about it. But now, what do you do with this bullpen? I get you're trading other pieces, I guess, to try to fit a bullpen together. I don't know. There's not a whole lot that bodes confidence for me.
Yeah, I ultimately I don't think Bednar gets traded because I don't think a team is going to put together a package that can land him.
Right.
But they're definitely going to be calling. Like, people are going to be calling and asking about him, and they're going to be putting their best foot forward to try to get him. Maybe that gets us to the point where they get blown away. Maybe it doesn't. I would put Bednar's chances of getting traded at less than 50%, but like the chances aren't zero. Like the chance, like there's a 1 in 4 chance he gets traded.
Yeah, I think 25% is about right. But like I said, it's got to be something that just absolutely blows you away, and to the point where you're not setting this rebuild back at all. That's the only way I'm okay with this, is that if it is a trade that doesn't set the rebuild back.
Any trade that sets it back.
Well,
Any trade.
I don't
David
know.
Bednar presents
Like,
you have the ability and potential to compete in 2024. No David Bednar. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. We can argue that maybe for another day because it's already 47 minutes in. But like no David Bednar feels like 2024 is done. So it is setting it back at least another year.
Unless like Ben Cherington miraculously can build a bullpen.
Another year.
I mean, just move over here to the bullpen. Hold on to Colin Holderman. Majinski turns into a stud. Yuri De Los Santos turns into a stud. It's all fine.
But I guess where I'm at too is like that's a hard trade to pass up. That absolutely is a hard trade to pass up. And it just makes it unfortunate that it probably is 2024. But you're
promise that's not being offered. That
I'm
is
towing
not
the
being
line
offered
here.
Man.
I know my audience.
I don't know, man. Like
that's not being offered.
Why don't you think so?
Nobody deals that for relievers anymore.
Yeah, they do. The
Not
Mets
really.
did just like 2 years ago. The Mets traded Jared Kelenic for Edwin Diaz.
To be fair, they took on Cano's contract too.
Who did the Cubs? Oh, no, the Cubs traded. The Cubs got Pete Crow Armstrong for Baez, wasn't it?
Baez and what? Something else. But yeah, trash. Just awful.
Yeah.
I think there was a reliever in that too.
David Bednar is
listen.
very good.
I know it's not a reliever, but this goes back to the whole Rich Hill. I forgot to bring this up. Like, remember, the Nationals traded John Lester, who at the time had like a 5-something ERA, to the St. Louis Cardinals for Lane Thomas, who's balling out. Like, this stuff happens.
Yeah. And again, like, we're not talking about just some guy. Like, David Bednar, you could argue, is the best closer in baseball. Yeah, people will offer a lot for him.
David Bednar is one of those relievers that defies the volatility of relief pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very good ever since he's gotten in the majors, and he just keeps getting better somehow.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay.
Although Ben Cherington found him, so you never know.
That's true. Cherington did trade for Bednar. You got to remember that.
So at any rate, so Rich Hill we think is definitely gone. David Bednar, I actually put it below 25%, by the way. I'm like at 10%. He gets traded. But at any rate, he could. There's a real possibility. I'm on more Tyler's side that teams aren't going to do what it takes for the Pirates to trade him. Mitch Keller, if we're going that route about guys like Bednar, what do you think about Mitch Keller? Is he going to get traded?
No.
I think there's a maybe 1% chance that Mitch Keller gets dealt.
Because if Mitch Keller gets traded, then what is there to look forward to? Like
They're
if
giving
Mitch
up.
Keller,
that they get.
that's the thing. If Mitch Keller is traded, then you're giving up. Like you are giving up. You're punting. You're punting next year.
Yeah. No, you're essentially saying this rebuild is done. This didn't work. We're starting over.
Yeah.
You trade Keller and Bednar to the Reds for India, Strand, Marte.
Nope, don't matter. No, and like
No.
I don't think
Not
there's
happening with
any.
you guys.
I really don't think there's any chance that Mitch Keller gets dealt. I think that Ben Cherington does listen just in case, but I don't see any plan that he gets dealt.
I'm with you. I think his chances are much lower than Bednar because I don't think he brings back the package that like Bednar could present.
Yeah.
And you need him. You need him. You need him for this year and next. And
if you deal Mitch Keller, I'm retiring. I'm not doing a post-game show anymore. That's where I'm going. I'm done. I'm done with North Shore 9 if he gets traded. I'm gone.
that's
it.
what
I'm
it takes.
Done. That's it. You gonna text Ben Cherington and ask him to trade?
Let's get it trending, guys. At
I'm
any
done.
rate,
Like I'm done.
No, I mean to Tyler's
I am
point, though,
literally
think
done.
If they do, and that is you do have to actually think, and he may be done, but if you trade Mitch Keller and or David Bednar, you do have to think like that is a massive PR hit. And I know that like you don't make decisions 100% based on that, but they've already like you do have to think like this team has put this fan base through so much. The fact that any of us are still here is a miracle. It's a miracle. Like, so we're just the dumbest people on earth. We have to be. We have to be the dumbest people ever to still be sitting here 53 minutes in, and we've been talking about just this absolute loser franchise for an hour, right? And there's tons of people watching us and typing in the comments about how they're also watching this team. Like we're all idiots.
No, they're all saying they want Mitch Keller traded, so I'm gone.
So like, if that happens, like I don't like how many of these idiots do finally are like, oh, I'm going to stop being stupid and I'm just going to give up on this team. Because how many idiots they got left?
I like how Jim's just calling everyone watching this an idiot. Like you're all idiots.
We're all idiots. Like,
and the funny part is every single one of them right now is going, yeah, I'm an idiot. You're right. But it's funny. Like this is every post game we hear it. Like this is our group therapy sessions.
Yeah.
What I want to say to this whole thing though, you know what makes this even worse, and like we're not even talking about, and we haven't really talked about this aspect of it, but I think it's a real aspect, and I kind of hint to it. If Keller and Bednar is traded for those reasons, what's the absolute worst decision? It's not those two. It just makes keeping Brian Reynolds the most epic, terrible decision that came about this rebuild. You chose this guy to keep, and you screwed up the entire thing, and now you're trading the $100 million contract, and he's age 30, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like the one of keeping him was stupid and asinine.
Yeah,
but it's because Ben Cherington failed his rebuild. Anyways, back to the actual trade deadline preview.
I'm trying to get people to watch because I'm saying I'm gone.
You're calling our people that are watching idiots right now.
I'm not. Jim did. I said I will be gone if they do.
But I also
that's the whole
said that
thing.
we are all like I said we. Like I'm with them.
Oh.
Like we are all idiots.
Oh, yeah. We are.
Like I didn't
idiots.
call them specifically idiots and like saying that I'm not an idiot. Like we're all in this together.
No, we're all dumb.
Any rate,
I'm spending my Thursday night at 10:03 p.m. talking about this useless team, and we've spent 55 minutes talking about a Carlos Santana trade and other guys that might get traded.
it could be 9:53. We're talking about this if you weren't 10 minutes late.
I was busy.
That's why it's always 9 p.m. ish. Anyways,
Exactly.
all right. So I guess I want to touch on, because you did mention him, Austin Hedges. I've said it before. I still am. I feel like he can get traded if the Pirates want to. I think there's enough teams out there that could bring him on. Catching is terrible. That's across baseball. This isn't to say that Austin Hedges is good. Like, this isn't spin it that catching's bad, so therefore Austin Hedges is also good. But there are teams out there, and I go back to this one too. Also, like the Dodgers have Austin Barnes as their backup catcher to Will Smith, who's absolutely trash, offensively and defensively. Austin Barnes has 2 extra base hits. Like, as bad as you think Austin Hedges is, Austin Barnes is way worse. And he's also not good defensively anymore. Like, that's a team who could maybe want Austin Hedges. Hedges, the Savannah Bananas. I'm down with that too.
No, I mean, as far as backup catchers go, if there is a team to trade Austin Hedges to, where he could actually be an upgrade, it's the Dodgers. Like,
there is more. But again, that goes to, he's a fine backup catcher. The problem that he presented in Pittsburgh was 2 of your prospects, your top prospects, were catchers, and he was blocking them. There's clubs out there that don't have it. Again, like Dodgers is a good example. Look at Houston. Martin Maldonado is actually awful this year too, everywhere. Like, Houston could use him as a backup. Houston likes that type of. That was Martin Maldonado has been a better bat, but the good defense. Maldonado's worse everywhere now. I'm just saying there are teams. I could see Hedges being traded.
So I guess I wonder how much of that contract the Pirates have to eat.
They would have to eat all of it. Like, no one is taking on Austin Hedges. No one is paying Austin Hedges. No one's paying Austin Hedges. Like, if you're trading Austin Hedges, you are paying another team to take him from you.
Because they can find an Austin Hedges close enough in the minors. Like, there's some team that just has some 30-year-old backup catcher that can catch really well.
You could just call up your backup high A catcher, and he'd provide just as much value.
Yeah.
So Abraham Gutierrez?
He probably would.
Double A. He'd be better.
Honestly, he might.
He'd be better.
He could throw someone out every now and then.
Kenny says there is nothing wrong with paying Austin Hedges to leave.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, like, in order to get like any sort of return, you're gonna have to eat that contract,
which is fine. I feel like they could, and also, if they're doing that, eating all the contract too, I feel like they could have some international money thrown at them by some team. That's just my thought.
Do they still trade international money?
Mm-hmm. It's back.
I thought we had a whole thing about this where they didn't anymore.
It's be wrong. Back. Ethan's in here. Ethan will correct us.
Ethan, help me.
You can, I'm pretty sure. And you can still trade comp picks too, I think, right? Like the competitive balance
nobody's
picks.
giving that up for Austin for
No, that's not. No.
You're
talking millions of dollars there.
No,
they might get a player to be named later. Name nobody.
Hedges could be a backup catcher on a decent team, but the Pirates, you shouldn't expect anything back in the trade of substance.
No.
Getting rid of him is addition by subtraction. There we go. Nailed it.
Finally get Henry Davis behind the plate.
Probably not. We'll probably get like Jason Delay.
They'll move Henry Davis to center field.
No, he's going to first base.
Or a shortstop.
No,
Shortstop.
he's going to first base. Kutch is going to keep DHing.
Choi goes to left field.
Nah, Choi's getting traded.
Let's move on then. Okay. Make that the next guy. Choi, is he getting traded too?
No.
So I wouldn't, because like, what are you getting? He's played like 15 games. I'd rather hang on to him. And Denardo, you mentioned earlier in the chat. Do you extend him? Do you look at like all the options of G-Man Choi? I mean, I'm interested in seeing what he does the rest of the year. He's a lot younger than Carlos Santana. I don't know about extension, but I'm more than willing to watch him play first base for this team the rest of the year.
Yeah, I wouldn't extend him. I don't really think he's any good. But if he plays well the rest of the year, then that's great. But like, I don't think you want to go into like the Yoshi Susugo trap here, where like you see him play well for 3 or 4 weeks. Why?
Because he's Asian?
No, has nothing. It's because he's an X-ray. So you don't want to sign those the people that the Tampa Bay Rays just dump. You don't want to extend those guys.
I don't know, Corey Dickerson. Well, I guess extending. He was good for that year.
That's what I mean.
Like extension. So that's fair.
Don't extend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just re-sign Santana next year. Give him another like 1 year, $8 million deal. I'd rather do that.
Move Henry Davis to first. It's fine. He can't catch. What's the matter?
Or I mean, once you trade Bednar to the Reds, then you'll have Encarnacion Strand. So
that's right.
You're all settled.
Yeah, it's all fine.
I guess I'm at like I don't think there's going to be a package enough where we were already talking about like what are you going to return. I felt like Santana is going to get the bigger package. I felt like Santana was probably going to be like more likely trade because teams are more wanting to get him instead of Choi. Choi has looked good, like Tyler mentioned, since his return, but it's very, very limited right now. There's not a whole lot of eye tests, not a whole lot of data on him, right? Like I'd rather have Santana, knowing what I'm going to get, than Choi. But as the Pirates side,
is it just me, or does it sound like he's saying Troy?
Choi.
Troy.
Choi. Choi.
Troy.
Choi. Troy. At any rate, for the Pirates end, and this is why I threw it out there like the extension. They gave Yoshi $4 million. We're going hypotheticals, right? But if this is a guy who likes being here, it is what it is, and you're like, you know what? Do you want $5 million to stay next year? Would you entertain that? Like, it's just it's less than he got. It's $5 million.
No,
right?
No, because I want good players on the team. Like, I don't want to.
So that's fair.
I don't want to extend just some shitty first baseman just because he was here for 2 months and he played half decent. Like, he's not good.
I guess
like we shouldn't be extending bad players.
I don't think he's a bad player, but at any rate,
he's not good.
If you don't want to extend him, what I think would still be fair is to keep him, let him play out and see what he is, because you did sign him. You didn't really have the opportunity to see what he is. And if you can finish out the year and maybe you have more information on a Choi, CHOI, not TROY. If you have more information on him with the band shift and all that, brought some enticement with him, and you see how he plays out, then maybe the offseason you can entertain that. Because again, there is a black hole at first base. There just simply is. Yes, Connor Joe is here. He can play it, but he's not an everyday player, and you don't want to play in first base all the time. There is a Malcolm Nunez who was tearing it up for got injured. He is on the mend. He's on the rehab assignment. I don't really believe in him either. And again, that's what we're going with. Like, there's a black hole. So maybe you keep him. You see what he does in his organization. And then in the offseason, if you want to, you can talk and discuss if a Choi is worth re-signing for whatever price it is.
Yeah, I think I have to see what it is the rest of the year. If not, then I think there's enough here that you can get by with it. Like, Henry Davis is kind of the probably more obvious option, but you probably want to have him in a more valuable spot, maybe in right field. which is not
Or I don't
look
know,
good.
catcher.
It's not going to happen. We all know it. This is where we are. But you probably want to give him as many opportunities as possible in right field. If not, maybe first base is the next spot. And if that doesn't work, then like signing first base is not it's not hard. They got
It's
two
really,
of them.
like, that's the thing. Like, it's pretty easy. Yeah, they found 2 this offseason.
You just said he was bad.
Right. But they can find another bad first baseman if they want. Like, there's plenty of them. If they want Santana back, he'll be there.
That's also fair.
There's going to be plenty of first base options next year if they want to go after somebody.
Okay, then let's move on. Anybody else that we find potentially being traded here? Just bring him up. Connor Joe.
No. Connor Joe's
I
not
don't-
even good enough to get
No.
in the lineup more than twice a week on this team.
Yeah.
And he's controllable, so he's actually kind of valuable because you can keep him around for 5 more years if you want him.
Yeah.
Which they won't, but they could.
Right. No, I find him much more valuable to the Pirates than
Plus
whatever
he's
trade
already
would bring back.
30.
Right. But no, I don't see Connor Joe getting traded.
So is that it?
I
Santana's already
actually I think the Pirates should go after some controllable arms this deadline. Get a little
Now we're
creative.
talking.
You've got 85 bajillion prospects in your system that other teams probably want. They've got a ton of prospect depth, right? Fangraphs just mentioned this just ranked them the number 1 farm system in baseball. They've got people to play around with if they want. Those teams that are out of it and they have arms that are going to be around for 3 more years or so, throw your name in the hat and see what you can do for those guys. Mark's been commenting here in the comments here for a while. Montgomery,
Sorry, Mark.
I wouldn't necessarily go him because he's a free agent after this season, I'm pretty sure. So that
I think he
just
was
doesn't-
talking about signing him.
signing him. Yeah, that's fine. But there's got to be some teams out there who are going to be shopping around guys with 3 years of control, maybe Mitch Keller's, but just not at that level.
Like a Jesus Luzardo.
Stop.
Not at that level, but someone
have
like that
PTSD
some
right now.
other team has given up on. And not quite at the low point of Tyler Beatty.
Yeah,
That's fair.
like
Some
who's a terrible team?
Project-ish.
Let's say the Royals. The Royals suck, right? So is there anyone on the Royals who they've maybe given up on who is somewhat interesting?
Who's their
Brady Singer?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
But
would they trade him?
Because that's the other thing too. The Royals rebuild is nowhere close to being done. The Royals need a lot of stuff. So maybe the Royals trade their 26-year-old pitcher with 3 years of control for some pieces down the road. That's maybe what I would be looking for if I'm the Pirates.
Yeah.
Something to that effect, like a Brady Singer type guy.
That would be the smart thing to do.
Yeah, nothing here. My mind's you went Royals, my mind said it went Tigers, and Tigers are just awful. I don't want any of their pitchers either. They're all busts and injured, but yeah, I mean, I don't hate that idea. I think that is something that Cherington could do this trade deadline. Is almost like the Neil Huntington MO in his later years, the buy and sell opportunity.
Yeah. So I think you have an opportunity to do that if you want. And like I said, you're dealing from a position of strength, and that farm system has a lot. They can deal a lot of those guys and really not miss anything.
Right. a lot of depth, and then
Yeah.
Paul Skeens. I'll say this: it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of hot takes on Twitter for the next few days, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm here
like
for
even
all
the Tigers. Like, would the Tigers trade Scooball?
Do you want? That's what I was going with. Like, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would take him in a heartbeat.
Do you think the value, like, so again, talking about is he more valuable to the Tigers than whatever trade chip's going to get? You know what I mean? Like, what do you
I
think
don't
the
know.
asking price is going to be? I think it's going to be more than you're willing to pry for Scooble to end up being the mess of players that you already have in the rotation.
But I think those are the type of guys they need to be looking at, seeing if those see if those guys are available.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to do you trust this team to develop it? Because I don't.
So to Jim's point, get the guys that are already developed, just underperforming.
Yes, but man, this team can't develop anything.
See, it's going to rub a hole. I don't know if they can't
they're
develop anything.
inconsistent.
That's harsh. Yeah,
There's
it's very
no, they
inconsistent.
People,
Because
there
there's
have been
Jared
people who have
Jones, there's
taken
Anthony
steps
Solomita. Like,
You name two guys that haven't been in the major leagues yet.
Jack Sawinski's gotten a lot better. Mitch Keller's gotten a lot better. Johan Oviedo looks like a very competent starting pitcher now, and we didn't really think that was the case when we acquired him.
Johan Oviedo has the same numbers he did in St. Louis
As a reliever,
as a starter. Like,
Yeah, I
he's
don't know if
not
I'm ready
good.
pen that in for Oviedo yet.
Yeah,
I'll say
he's
I'm
not like
more
they
impressed by
don't
him.
develop anything. This team can't develop a damn thing. They never
Triage,
have
baby.
since Sherrington took over. They won't.
Andy.
We don't know.
Yeah, we do.
He's
Do
batting like
we?
220.
We thought we knew about Roanzi. We thought we knew about Luis Ortiz. Maybe not
No,
him. But
not really.
Roanzi, we thought we knew.
No, trust me.
No, I'm saying there are people
All
who
of us
have
idiots
failed to
want to know,
develop,
get it.
but there are people who have developed. Like, you can't say that Jack Sawinski hasn't developed.
Sure. He turned into a 7-hitter. We didn't think he'd be a major leaguer. Congrats.
So there you go. That's a success story.
I also put
Thank
more
I'm
God.
not
emphasis
defending.
on-
I'm not defending
I
them
know
by
you
any way.
aren't.
I'm
I
just
know
saying.
you aren't.
I'm just saying. Like,
I know. I'm moving basically your face into Donardo's so that I can argue with you.
Let's merge, Jim.
No, like there
Okay,
there
don't
are
play the
way
game.
too
No,
many
no.
negative stories about this team.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
hasn't worked out with way too many people.
Do you
Like
have anything else
it's
to say
too
about the trade
guys.
deadline?
It's to the point where we are talking about we are happy that they drafted Henry Davis because he didn't really have to get developed. That's why we talk about Paul Skeens being happy about him because he doesn't really have to be developed. Because we don't trust this team at all. Because they can't do it.
No, completely fair. What I think is unfair is saying no one has developed. We question the development.
Who
But-
has? Who has?
Jack Swinsky. So not nobody.
Yeah, he's okay. Like
Okay.
we can live with him. I guess if you really want to get down the rabbit hole, like fuck, I don't even know. Like
Can we talk about
still-
one? Like, can we talk about like one positive thing before we leave?
do we have
Yeah.
to?
I don't know what that is.
You don't even have an idea. Hey, chat, give us a positive topic.
I'm just saying we've been like complaining for
as we're waiting for
75
chat to
minutes,
tell
and
us.
Okay.
so, like,
Again, my
you
take
know
on
what?
that though, Tyler.
David Bednar got developed. I'll take him.
Okay,
Sure.
fair.
We'll give him credit for him.
To add on though, my biggest thing is like you're talking about development, and yes, there's absolutely questions, but I blame a lot more. Like the coaching is just awful. They have to absolutely clean house. I want to see clean house.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches need to go. And then with a clean slate and hopefully better players, or I'm sorry, coaching, maybe we can get a better analysis of the development, because I absolutely believe the last regime, that was the biggest thing. It was they not know talent. They develop. I think they know talent because we see the guys going other places and playing well. It was clearly a developmental problem. And I see the same exact issues. And also, they kept most of the scouts. So it's the same guys eyeing the talent. So, yeah, clear development part. But again, to me, I think a lot of it is on the coaching also. The Haynes got to go, and I'm back on get rid of Marine. I want a pitching coach, not a pitching triage.
It just comes back to there's not been one guy that's just come out of nowhere. Save your Jack Sawinski.
I don't even think he's like an out of nowhere type of guy, though.
I mean, I think he kind of is. But at the same time, you look at a Jack Sawinski, and if you don't watch him every day, you probably will just look at his Fangraphs page and think, oh, this guy's pretty good this year. You watch him every day, he's annoying.
No, I get it. To me, like Rodolfo Castro is more of the that was Castro, and he regressed.
Or even like a Diego Castillo, he didn't pan out. Like just one of these dudes. We've seen 1,500 middle infielders. Not one. Not an iota.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part.
Whatever's happening here is not working.
So I think the only positive topic we got, and I'm not sure if this is a positive topic or who's answering some question or whatever, but Anthony Solomedo. I mean, that kid is looking pretty damn good. Another good start tonight. He's already in Double-A, performing in Double-A as well. Like off the rip. This isn't like he came to Double-A and had some learning curve. I mean, he came in and he's pitching fantastic already. I know it has some harsh words from Eric this offseason. The velocity is better, though.
Jim doesn't know he's blocked.
To his point, though, Eric said like that velocity isn't play, and Anthony's gotten the velocity up some.
Yeah, Anthony Solomedo has been very good facing Double-A and under hitters.
Jim had to spin it to a negative.
No, I mean that's a positive. That's a positive. Like he's been very good. You could not ask for more from Anthony Solomedo at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
If you would have time traveled 2 years in the future from when he was drafted, and you would see who he is right now, you would say, this is great.
And since we know aliens and UFOs are real, can they time travel? I wonder if they've figured out time travel.
I don't think they have. I don't think time travel exists. Because you just got to think from like a logistical standpoint. If it did exist and you like went back or forward in time, you could mess up so many things that I don't think it's real. If time travel existed, we'd probably be gone. We wouldn't even be alive.
You just said you'd mess up so many things. However, time travel
we would be
explains the Pirates organization.
The human race.
Bob Nutting is the first time traveler.
The human race would not exist if time travel was real, or would ever be real at any point in time.
I don't think it exists. I don't think for those reasons, but.
And then you even think about it, like you try time travel back in time and you like change something in the past. Does that affect the fact that time travel even ever existed.
Then again, when you speak of dimensions, what if you're just going other dimensions? And that's really what it is. Like, you're not time traveling back in this dimension. Time traveling just puts you in another dimension of that existence. So therefore, you're not ruining this dimension that we're in. The only way we can talk positively is we talked about time travel. So we can end it on there. I guess that's it. We're just done.
I'm good.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
so.
Then our last comment, last thing we'll talk about. We talk about people who are playing or potentials. Who does get traded, Jim?
Rich Hill.
That's it. That's
Rich
it.
Hill's the only one that gets sold.
Rich
We're
Hill.
That's it.
Rich Hill gets traded. No one else does.
I'm with Jim. Jim
Austin
and Ty.
Hedges as well.
Nah.
Austin Hedges get traded.
Nah.
We're out of here. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Peace out, Scouts.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucs.